I don't know about you, but I'm fed up with Sonic Team. I mean, the makers of the Blue Rascal constantly disappoint when it comes to knowing what the fanbase wants. Sonic turned 30 this year, and the only thing Sonic Team could offer fans were games they already own and a 32-second teaser for something. I couldn't even tell you what this trailer, if you can even call it that, is. Is that classic Sonic? Modern Sonic? Or some new 30th anniversary redesign? The disappointment hurts because Sonic is supposed to be cutting edge. His attitude is immediately apparent, from his preference for smirks and eyebrow raises to his iconic can't-miss-him red shoes. But repeatedly, Sonic Team likes to boil the character down to half-baked or tangential ideas that completely eschew what made the classic game so iconic. Though, I guess it's not entirely their fault, considering the most vocal segment of the fanbase clamors for legitimized Rule 34. I'm so sorry, Amy Rose. If there is one thing that gets me amped for new Sonic games, it has to be the soundtrack. Barring Sonic Forces, which I think is largely an irredeemable piece of cut-and-paste software that featured an incredibly grating, over-synth soundtrack, Sonic music rarely misses. Even the worst of the classic games provide stellar earworms, like the Sonic 3D Blast credits theme. And the modern games continually impress, despite technological or gameplay setbacks. If you can muster the strength to endure the glitchy coding, Wave Ocean is a fantastic musical successor to Sonic Adventure's Emerald Coast, right down to the soothing guitar and luscious bass that helps make the level all the more inviting. Personally, my favorite Sonic soundtrack is Sonic Unleashed. It sort of feels like cheating to say so because it features a variety of musical styles and traditions, in keeping with the game's focus on world adventure. But with tracks like Empire City and its saxophone that just rips through buildings as Sonic speeds past them, how could you not like it? Anyway, with Sonic turning 30 this year, I thought I'd take a look back at something he should truly be proud of. The soundtrack for his debut game, 1991's Sonic the Hedgehog. At this point, it's obvious that the OST for the first game is great, amazing even, but it's still worthwhile to look back and see what made the Sonic 1 OST so influential for its time, and why it's still so beloved today. Sonic the Hedgehog. Popping this cart into a Genesis feels like putting on your favorite pair of shoes, or getting under your covers on a cold December night. It's just comfortable. Unlike the games that follow it, Sonic 1 is fairly bare bones. There's no multiplayer, and not even an options menu unless you enter a code on the intro screen. There's nothing to distract you from pressing start and embarking on Sonic's first adventure around South Island. That streamlined approach, however, makes for an immediately recognizable experience. Remember the first time you played Mario World? After spawning in at Yoshi's house and getting the briefing about Dinosaur Island, you're presented with a choice, left or right. Truthfully, you never have to beat Yoshi's Island 1 or activate the Yellow Switch Palace, but it always stuck with me that I could decide whether I wanted to start with the first or second level of the game. In comparison, Sonic 1 flings you headlong into the game. Outside of the manual, there's little in the world prompting you about what Sonic's mission is. Instead, you start running to the right and hope for the best. Thus, the game's music takes a prominent role in setting the scenery. From the moment the black title screen swipes away and you gain control of Sonic, your ears are met with a vibrant, bouncy, even funky Green Hill Zone. While Green Hill Zone would set the stage for Sonic intro levels for years to come, it was also the video game introduction of Masato Nakamura. The bassist and frontman of the Japanese band Dreams Come True, Nakamura was tapped by Sega to compose for its new mascot character. Provided a demo kit and working ROM of the game, Nakamura embarked on crafting a cinematic soundtrack. This is immediately apparent in Green Hill Zone, which starts off with a 16-second intro before building into the full melody. This build-up is huge for introducing players to the game world. The first time you play a Sonic game, you might start by making him walk around the stage as you take in the stellar graphics and nail down his moveset. This intro almost says, sure, we'll give you a few seconds to get acclimated, but come on, we gotta go. In a 2006 interview, Nakamura talks about the energy at Sega, which was best summarized as, "Let's beat Mario." Though Sonic has arguably failed at besting the mustache plumber, Sonic 1's music was certainly more theatrical than Mario's 16-bit offering. The music of Super Mario World, while interesting in its own right, I love the samba remix of the Starman theme for Star Road. The game felt sillier, to say the least. Like the game's exaggerated, squash and stretched art style, much of Mario World's music sounds comical, lackadaisical even. Sonic's music, meanwhile, emulates the pace of the games themselves. Part of that is owed to Nakamura's bass lines, which add intrigue to a section of the music that, in many platformers, tends to be overlooked. The bass on Green Hill Zone, for example, keeps pace with the up-tempo melody for the song's entirety, and subtly propels Sonic towards the goalpost. By the time we arrive in Marble Zone, the Green Hill theme should be well implanted in your ear. Thankfully, Nakamura switches things up with a noticeably more ominous theme to pair with all the level's traps. Unlike Green Hill Zone, Marble Zone's salsa-like intro is short and to the point, almost as if to say, "We gave you the first level for free, now here comes the real test." Nakamura still brings out a pounding, up-tempo bass line, this time accentuating the second and fourth beats, which help add tension to the lava-filled level. Moving on to Spring Yard Zone, remember how I said Sonic was supposed to be cutting edge? Well, what's more cutting edge than composing a song in a genre that was all the rage in the late 80s and early 90s? New Jack Swing. Though it was short-lived, New Jack Swing is among my favorite genres. It's what happens when you combine the rugged punchiness of hip-hop with the luxurious melodies of R&B. Nakamura's Spring Yard Zone track captures that combination perfectly. It seriously sounds like a demo version of Bobby Brown's Every Little Step. Periodically, the song builds up to these snappy drum breakdowns that punctuate the track before rebuilding into the melody. Fittingly, this zone plays out with Sonic dashing through a city at sunset. Despite his status as a furry woodland creature, Sonic increasingly finds himself rubbing shoulders with mankind and technology. Plopping him in Spring Yard Zone, what with its neon signs adorned with cope, while Nakamura's track plays, is delightfully harmonious with Sonic's image as a trendsetter. I'm going to jump ahead to Starlight Zone since it pairs so well with what Spring Yard has going on. I mentioned before that Spring Yard Zone is reminiscent of a Bobby Brown track, but honestly, this entire soundtrack and game fits so well with the 1990s R&B and pop culture. Starlight Zone is a wildly different setting when compared to the nighttime stages in rival Mario games. The graphics raise questions about whether people or animals live in the apartment buildings, and if they are people, why aren't they trying to stop Robotnik? The music of Starlight, however, takes on all the pop and R&B sensibilities of, say, a Brandy track. Sure, there's a disco-like 4 on the floor beat, but it's overpowered by a sweeping melody that places the cut closer to the 90s than the 70s. And while Starlight Zone represents a reprieve from the trials of the preceding Labyrinth Zone, the music presents a much less stark contrast. The Labyrinth Zone track is upbeat, maybe even more so than Starlight Zone. The lighthearted melody usually gets the most praise, but I'm particularly fond of the drum line. During the first section of the track, the drums are modest, emphasized only on the first and fourth beats. But when the B section takes off, the drums kick into high gear with a much more complex rhythm to amp things up. Like with Marble Zone, This song does a great job of contrasting the fairly slow pace of the level, and keeps players engaged when the nearest air bubble seems miles away. Rounding out with Scrap Brain Zone, Nakamura does a really good job of making everything sound mechanical. The track's marching drum is a great use of percussion to drive the level's sense of doom, and all the pings and whirs of the synthesizers help create the overall industrial feel. Speaking of feel, Sonic's rate of travel was a huge focal point in the character's development. When Sega was first devising what game would help them compete in the home console market, designer Yuji Naka was planning on working on a racing game. After a number of retools, Naka eventually started developing the mascot platform game that would eventually become Sonic the Hedgehog. One of the chief points of emphasis was Sonic's continual locomotion. Naka implored the game developers to limit gameplay to the D-pad and a single action button, which would allow gamers to focus more on learning and perfecting the stages than fumbling around with controls. Tactile feedback is supremely important to making games immersive. Think about Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, Returnal, or really any other use of the PS5's improved haptics. Along with the vibration, the way players interact with the controller helps to create a natural rhythm that works in conjunction with the rest of the game's systems. This simplistic control scheme aids Sonic in creating that natural rhythm. At a push of a button, he can curl into a ball and either jump or roll, all while preserving, and in some cases, increasing, his momentum. Outside of a few instances like the Lava and Marble Zone, or the conveyor belt platforms in Labyrinth, Sonic 1's level design encourages the Hedgehog to go fast, and more times than not, his music does the same. Sonic 1 wouldn't be the same without its boss music. Every third act sees the Hedgehog square off with Dr. Robotnik, the game's primary antagonist. Unlike would be the case in Sonic 3D Blast, the boss battles sport just one theme song. What jumps out most about this theme is that it's not as explicitly dark as, say, Bowser's theme in Super Mario World. That song took a more metal approach. Robotnik is instead carried by the high-pitched synths that harken back to his role in the Nature vs. Machine theme of the game. The forceful drum pattern carries the weight of an Imperial March, which helps flesh out the Doctor's egotistical nature. Despite much of the soundtrack working towards complementing some other aspects of the game, the special stage theme is just different. The meandering melody plays up the dreamlike secrets of earning a Chaos Emerald. I'm not really sure where Sonic goes when he enters a special stage, but the kaleidoscopic birds and fish lead me to believe it's somewhere far, far away. Wrapping the OST up into a neat package is the ending medley, a mashup of music from all the levels. This really highlights Nakamura's role as a stage musician. It's almost like the end of a show when the band comes out for an encore to play one or two of its greatest hits. The music of Sonic the Hedgehog works because Sega wasn't afraid to make hard decisions with who the character is and what the game should sound like. Early in development, Yuzo Komiya, an actor and singer, was considered for composing Sonic's soundtrack. Getting scratched in favor of Nakamura was a fantastic decision. Komiya's music leaned more towards the dramatic, dreamy ballads that would accompany movies, not the fast-paced action of a video game. Admittedly, Sonic Team seems to have lost some of this rigidity with newer games, taking more of a kitchen sink approach than actually fleshing out the reason for certain design choices. I mean, seriously, why did Sonic Forces, for example, bring back the twangy Genesis sound alongside cheesy vocal themes? At the end of the day, the music of Sonic 1 has a purity about it. Being the first project in what would become a 30-year line of games, its sound clearly influences everything that comes after it, even once Nakamura stepped away as composer. Simple as Sonic's soundtrack may be, it's barely 10 tracks long. The music is a resounding success, as it merges cutting-edge sound with a character whose entire existence was to upset the status quo. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you heard or saw, consider dropping a like or subscribing. I'm thinking I'm gonna have to run through the rest of the Sonic series. I have a lot of opinions about those games. But until then, as always, feel free to leave comments of what you might want to see next, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day.